The CBD's controversial lockout laws are being credited for a dramatic decrease in alcohol-fuelled violence.
I think nightclubs have a bad name because most people don't access them. It's as simple as that.
The way media portrays nightlife in general is very negative.
It's the government's solution to drunken late-night crime, extra patrols, no glass and a 3 a.m. lockout.
They've always demonised it and vilified it and made it look bad. And I guess they've got a public interest at heart, but public interest should be balanced with truth and fair reporting.
It's not a newspaper headline if it's like, oh, guy 26 from Elizabeth went out and had a good time, is it?
I've seen headlines like drugs, sex and rock and roll as thousands go wild at the Adelaide jail on the front of the Advertiser, which was about an Adelaide jail rave, which was hilarious. The way they described it was like some orgy full of debauchery, and I'm thinking, I was there, where the hell was that?
It's a hell of a lot safer than everyone thinks.
The portrayal of the West End is just hilarious. Like, it's just ridiculous. They'll take one example and really, really flog it, which might not be a true representation of what is actually occurring there on a regular basis.
When I've walked down Harley Street, for example, some media will have you believe it's like a war zone on a Saturday night, but it's not. It's mostly people out having a good time, having a good night.
In 32 years of DJing, I've probably seen one fight in a club.
I've never been involved in any violence myself.
Never, not even once. In my 6.5 years on Harley Street, I saw two bad incidences. That's what would happen on any late night strip in the world, you know.
Most of the fighting that I see starts on the outside of clubs, never inside.
Inside nightclubs, you have security and their job is to make you feel safe, and their job is to be right on any sort of altercations and remove those people.
The troubles on the streets doesn't come from nightclubs. It comes from people that abuse alcohol and drugs. And nightclubs are pretty much the safest place you can be, particularly these days with the rules and regulations surrounding security and responsible service of alcohol. You know, people want to do the right thing, especially owners, so they do their best to make sure that their venues are safe places.
I think it's safer in a club. I think you choose when to leave, not get thrown out at a certain time, or you get locked out, or you walk outside, then all of a sudden you're locked out, you're left from your friends, you can't get home, and then then what do? You walk the street. Your phone's flat, you can't get home, what do? You walk down the street and you get punched in the head.
While we're on our way to the next venue, we came out of the second door on the left, walked down to here. The guy that assaulted me was in front of this area here. He then struck me. I've gone down on one knee next to that bin. We had to leave the venue we're at to get across to Red Square before lockout. Even if you're in the line at 3 a.m, you can't get in. You have to be in those doors before 3. The police were saying on the night that he does hang out on Harley Street and he has gotten into this sort of trouble before. Actually, he was quite known to him. To have someone like that still able to walk around and get away with it sort of sends the wrong message that it's acceptable.
I guess overall the main impetus for the government was probably around the street crime and the street violence that was seemingly to have an upward trend on the streets, and certainly it was quite evident that as paramedics we were obviously bearing the brunt of a lot of that stuff and seeing it. And I can only talk anecdotally, but I guess for a period of time there it was just a frequent occurrence. Like, we'd go to 4 or 5 call-outs on one crew alone at times, on one night shift on a Saturday or a Friday night, or even the public holidays, Harley Street, those sorts of areas. What that was directly attributed to, I can't answer. Like, there probably is nothing that's collected data or statistics around that, but just from being on the front line, that was what we were seeing and what we were experiencing, and I guess something had to be done because people were dying, they were getting extremely badly hurt, and it was through the actions of other people's stupidity mostly.
We shouldn't be having to be responsible for what happens on the street. That's the job of the police, and the police should be doing their job. Simple as that.
Since the tough new stance was introduced last October, the government claims crime has dropped nearly 25%.
It's the evidence that we have based on Adelaide. Yes, the figures do exist. They come from government. All the robust information that's come from other jurisdictions have all had independent auditing or review processes or some level of, separate buy-in, so to speak. And I guess that would be where more validity in those figures might be coming from. But to this day, to my knowledge at least, there hasn't been anything like that. They're just using internal numbers. So you can make statistics say whatever you want them to say when you're trying to compel an argument.